Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Android Weekly / Android Q&A, where we answer all of your questions live. Now, currently, sorry, just something messed up. So how this show typically goes is we go through the weekly news that happened during the week in mobile, and then we follow it up by answering questions that were emailed to me live. It were emailed me during the week. So then we go to any question that was emailed to me at asktheandroidguy@gmail.com, as you see right there. And then once I receive that email, I put it on the queue for next week, and then hopefully your question will get answered. Now, I do answer about 4 or 5 questions per week, so it doesn't always leave time for everyone. But if you ever want a guarantee answer, well, then you just watch us live. So at the end of every show, we answer any questions in the comment section down below. So if you have a question and you are watching, well, then just feel free to ask in the comment section down below. All right, let's get started on the weekly news. So very first thing that we want to start off with is the comparison between Apple's and Samsung's earnings. So both companies reported their earnings for Q1 this month. And we have a couple of things to go over. So, Samsung reported theirs, Apple reported theirs, and then we have how many phones are now had been sold as well. So let's get down to it. I did this quick little chart for you guys to be able to see. It's just a very basic chart on the differences between them. So in terms of revenue, Apple was ahead by about 14 billion in revenue, which is different. Normally, Samsung is ahead in revenue over Apple, but where Apple always has won traditionally in the past has been its operating profit. So this is one thing you can definitely see is that with the two, Samsung is now lower on operating profit compared to Apple, in terms of revenue compared to Apple, which is typically not how it goes. But we've seen this over this quarter. Last quarter, Samsung was still ahead over Apple, even though Apple had their biggest revenue to date. It was still not near Samsung. However, this quarter is a changing of the tide, you could say. Now, their operating profit was 5.3 versus 10.2. So Apple almost made double what Samsung made in operating profit. Now, this is typically normal, simply because Samsung accumulates about $12 billion into research and development, which Apple spends about $2 billion. So if you calculate that 10 billion over 4 quarters, well, then that usually makes up for a majority of the operating profit. Again, since Samsung's revenue was down, however, this creates it that even if you accumulate that 3 to 4 billion in there, then it's going to still be a little bit off. So even with the 3 billion to 4 billion in terms of operating profit for research and development, you're still getting lower than previous months. Now, in terms of units sold, yes, Samsung is back to being the top selling smartphone maker, selling 83.2 million Android devices. Android phones, and whereas Apple is 61.2 iPhones. So in terms of selling phones, Samsung is once again ahead of Apple. However, the main downside, of course, is that not all of them are top tier phones. So some of them are less expensive smartphones. And these are all smartphones. So I know some people always wonder about that. Oh, well, they're feature phones? No, these are all smartphones, but it's just something to make sure you know. So yes, that is the difference in their system. So you can see that Samsung, once again, is the top selling smartphone maker, but that doesn't necessarily make up for their operating profit and revenue, which did go down. Now, Samsung did say in their statement, well, you have to understand this is not including what, of course, just happened, which is the S6, and the S6 should make our second quarter a lot better. So we will see if that's true when we come up back to Q2 and see how well they compare, especially since, usually in Q2 is Apple's worst quarter. Typically, and that's just simply obvious reasons. When their main competitor comes out with their top phone, then Apple's going to go down. And just like in Q3, Samsung takes a big hit because that's when Apple's phone comes out. So it's always that shift is that goes on a graph, and you literally see this happen with Apple and Samsung. And but Q1 traditionally has been back to Samsung, however, not this quarter. So it's going to be interesting to see how next quarter turns out. All right. Now, one of the biggest things that Apple has claimed forever is that you make more money on the revenue compared to Google Play Store. And that has been traditionally true. However, in this latest report, Android has finally dethroned iOS in terms of the revenue that is made, and that is through the growth of Android in China. So when we take a look, we can actually see that out of all the revenue in all Play stores, out of China Android and Google Play Store, it is now overtaken Apple. Now, to be fair, though, this is why. So in terms of the volume of the market, the China market is so huge compared to everything else in terms of app stores. It's greater in terms of how many units or how many people use it compared to iOS and Google Play Store. Actually, compared to them combined, the volume of the market is so big. However, per download and per person, it's still more profitable on iOS, but because of the sheer numbers, it is now eclipsed iOS in terms of revenue. So overall, in terms of revenue, it is going to be now Google Play Store and China Android. So based on Android in total, there is more revenue. However, this is more revenue overall, not more revenue per person or per developer. So I wanted to make sure that's clear. All right. One of the other big things that happened during this week was the LG Watch Urbane came out, and here it is. So this is, I'm going to call it right now, the best looking smartwatch I've ever used. I posted a picture on Instagram too, but it looks amazing. In terms of its functionality, I will tell you right away, going back to Android Wear from wearing my Samsung Gears, I miss a lot of functionality. Being able to pick up a call is annoying on Android Wear. Why is it that if I pick up a call on my watch, my phone doesn't come on speaker? Why is that? That's something so simple. At least if this can't pick up the call, then it should be on speaker automatically. Now I know there's ways to get around that. I can get an app to do that, but I shouldn't have to. That should be built into Android Wear, and this is where Android Wear still loses me at times. So that's just one thing. But other than that, I really love this watch. I'm loving it so much. And it's funny because, I have still requested LG's PR company to send me a G4 to review for you guys, but I've still yet to hear from them. And I requested that they would do that for me back in January at CES. Still haven't heard from them, so we'll see how that goes. All right. Speaking of watches, Samsung is apparently teaming up with a lot of fashion brands and just regular accessory makers for their next smartwatch. So for their next round smartwatch, they're teaming up with a lot of different companies. Some of them you'll know right away, from Swarovski, which we've seen many times, to different ones like Tech 21. I thought that was kind of interesting. AnyMode isn't China one that's really big out in China, but unfortunately does not sell over here directly. And Incipio, which is another case manufacturer. So I'm really kind of curious to see how this goes. I'm quite frankly very curious to see what Samsung comes out with. But I'm really curious to see how it will look overall, because that's the main thing. I think, partnering with companies is one thing, but you have to have, the style. And we'll see. It's one thing that I do love about this current LG Urbane watch is that the watch looks great. And that I think more than ever, I am convinced that for mainstream people to buy a smartwatch, it first needs to look good, then needs to have functionality, aka the Apple Watch. And finally, the last bit of news in this episode is going to be that for some reason their website's messed up right now. Okay. Samsonite and Samsung are reportedly making smart suitcases. That's right. Soon you'll have a smart suitcase. So what does that entail? Well, that's a good question. We know that they're working on like GPS built into it. We know that, possibly, look, maybe it has a battery pack built into it. We're not really sure, but I think it's a really interesting take that if Samsung kind of gets it together with obviously the top one, Samsonite, and really kind of becomes this really interesting suitcase, smart suitcase. I'm really curious what that would look like. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that would be helpful? I could see it as maybe something of, if you can actually make it easier for me to get through airport, like maybe it's a chip that has already determined what's inside the suitcase, and therefore that chip can like tell the airline, hey, this is fine, or something like that. But then you have to worry about like, oh, will that be hacked? Can, obviously like a terrorist organization get through that? Which isn't worth it if it can, obviously. But it was just a thought off the top of my head of what could come about in smart suitcases. All right, let's get to the questions that were emailed to me during the week. Again, if you have a question, make sure to ask it at asktheandroidguide@gmail.com, or just tune in live and you get them all answered live. All right. Calvin asked, if you buy a Tab S 10.5 and buy an OTG cable, I can use any OTG cable to transfer everything over from my S5 to my Tab S. Well, it doesn't work exactly like that, Calvin. So here's the thing. If you use an OTG cable, unless you get a different app for it, which I don't know of any app that will do that through the app, it will transfer everything over only in terms of pictures. So as soon as you connect the two, it will say image importer. And that's actually Google Plus allowing you to transfer over all images. It's something built in that when you connect an OTG cable to the other phone. However, with your situation, they are both Samsung products. So what you actually want to use is Samsung Smartwatch. So Samsung Smartwatch will allow you to download that app onto both your S5 and your Tab S and just transfer over everything using that app. It's a very simple process, and it uses Wi-Fi Direct, which means it'll transfer over about 1 gig in a minute. So in about, 16 minutes, you'll be done. That simple. And it'll transfer over everything from phone to phone, including wallpapers, Wi-Fi connections, your contacts, all your photos, all your videos, just everything you want, music, everything. Everything you could want will be transferred over. So yes, that's what I would use in your situation. Deaconle? Deaconle? Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. I do not know how to pronounce your name, unfortunately. I'm very bad at that. I do apologize. You did ask though that you really enjoyed my videos, and I did a video on the Note 12.2 this past year when it came out, and you intend to get that tablet for your wife. And you were going to get her a Tab S 8.4, but it only has 16 gigs, whereas the Note 12.2 has 32 gigs. And your wife has already had problems with her Note 2 device that with limited storage of 16. Did the Note have 16 gigs on it? So would I recommend the Note 12.2? Well, I will say this. You're skipping an obvious one, actually. There's the Tab S 8.4, but then there's also the Tab S 10.5. Now, my Tab S 10.5 does have 32 gigs of storage. So that is that. I mean, personally, if they want a 12.2, that's great. But Tab S is still a newer tablet comparing, so we'll get more updates and things such as in that manner. Plus, I felt it was a better overall tablet if you don't need the pen. If you need the pen, then you want the 12.2. If you don't need the pen, then you want the Tab S. Not to mention that I am currently reviewing the Tab A. So know a lot of you guys are waiting to see how this review goes for this one because of the aspect ratio. I currently have a love-hate relationship about it, which I will let you guys know later if anyone is curious about it. But also more so, I will answer in the videos about it. So why? And oh, your second question was, why is Samsung and most other OEMs haven't been able to eliminate the lag in their devices? Well, the lag, I would say, got really good on KitKat. On KitKat, the slowdown, I would say, was a lot better. You didn't see that kind of lag as much. However, what screwed it up entirely was Lollipop. Lollipop is my least favorite OS update since Honeycomb. It is just a horrible update, in my opinion, and it has caused more problems than solutions, and it's taken away more features than I would say it's really brought. Lollipop was horrible, and I think that's why Google is taking so long with their next iteration of whatever the M will be, because the Lollipop was received very poorly by almost every OEM. So yes. Alex Rudd asks, I've been enjoying the call recording feature on the Note 4 with KitKat. I was wondering if Lollipop Update keeps this feature. If not, is there a replacement dialer with that function? I use it a lot and wouldn't want to have this feature missing. So yes, Alex. So one, I'm not sure if the Lollipop keeps this feature. I've actually never used this feature built into the Note, so I've just never used it. But what I have used many times is Google Voice. Google Voice does allow you to record any phone call anytime you take it. However, it does announce your recording, simply because in where Google Voice was created was in California, which you cannot record someone without them knowing. So I'm sure there are third-party apps that do that as well. That's the one I know of off the top of my head. But yes, so you can do that definitely. But if it's missing from it, I mean, honestly, at this point, I would say don't upgrade to Lollipop, to be honest. That's my opinion. I would just not upgrade to Lollipop. But yeah. All right, then the last question of the week comes from Paul. And Paul asked a question that I have answered many, many times on this channel, but I know it always comes up. For any of you guys that saw the 10 hidden features of my Note 4 video, as you know, I have the multiple dictionaries and I'm able to translate things. However, it is not able to do so on your phones. That's because I had an international Note 4, which had all of those built into it. And as far as I know, in the US, Samsung has not updated any of the carrier phones to be able to do that. So that's why you guys do not have the translation dictionaries as where others do. So yes, that is the reason why. All right, guys, now I'm going to answer the questions in the comment section down below. So if you are watching live and you have a question, just feel free to ask it in the comment section down below. All right, the first couple of questions or comments is from Drag Racing Ninja. Hey, Drag Racing Ninja, how are you? One reason why Google Play usually don't get the most revenue is because you can get most of the apps for free. Good point. I'm not saying that you can't get paid, but apps are free. Yeah. Like that. We need wireless charging bags, like backpacks. I think that's an interesting idea, having kind of like a built-in wireless charger within the backpack. Or I would say where it would be really good, you know, most backpacks have like a little side pouch. Maybe have the wireless charger in there, and you can just put your device right in that side pouch, and then it kind of like clings it back while it's still charging. So I think that would be a good idea. But yeah, is that the only questions tonight? God, usually you guys are so chatty. Not tonight as much. It's a long day. It's been a long day for me. Did the whole was a good uncle or playing uncle kind of thing. My fiance brought over her nieces and, you know, kind of took care of them over the weekend after that unentertaining fight. Oh my God, that was such a boring fight. I was a huge boxing fan back in the day. Oh, this was a painful fight, but yeah. So yeah, that was that. Yeah, guys, no other questions for me this week. Things are coming up. We might be getting a second camera in the studio, so we might change it from our traditional camcorder back there. to a different one, and we'll see the quality difference. Once I record with it, I will let you guys know. Hey, let me know what you guys think. Just because you guys that watch the show always give great feedback, so thank you always for that. As you can see, I got a special edition Hulkbuster back there, along with a little Ultron back there from my Avengers night, which I've found so great. So I thought that was really good. Any way to go back to Kit Kat from Lollipop on the Note 4? No, not without not without no, there's no, I would say, really good way to do that, except for rooting. You would have to root it and then put Kit Kat on there. But that's the only way you can do it. You can't like go back on without rooting. There's no way to go back from Lollipop to Kit Kat, unfortunately. Drag Race Ninja, what's a good tablet for an 8-year-old kid? It's funny because I just said I was taking care of my nieces, and I wasn't sure how to entertain them per se at all times. So one of the things I did was I had one of my many tablets, and it was a Samsung one. I think it was the Tab Pro 10.1, and so I gave them that, downloaded a bunch of apps on it, and I put kids mode, and I put all the apps that I downloaded onto kids mode, and I gave it to them, and they were happy. It kept them busy for the majority of the 2 days. So that was really fun that, I played with them some of the games. I showed them how to play some of the games, all that kind of stuff. It was really fun. Now it's for a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old, though. So in terms of an 8-year-old, well, I think you should just start considering a regular tablet at that point. Now, one that no, I can't really. Again, a love-hate relationship. I will get to this, which I was saying earlier. So the love-hate relationship part about this tablet is that it is a horrible 4:3 ratio. But it does have Microsoft Office on it. And I think that's the only good quality about it. What I mean by Microsoft Office is Samsung has a special version of Microsoft Office, Word, PowerPoint, Excel. They're separate apps that they can have. Basically, you can edit your documents. You can do all that kind of stuff. There's only very few things that the full 365 version allows you to do that this one doesn't. One of the biggest things is you can't. The biggest thing that I would only see as a problem for most people is you can't change the orientation of a Word document. Now, this isn't an Excel spreadsheet because you can do it on Excel, but specifically for Word, you cannot change the orientation. So I cannot make a landscape document. I can edit a landscape document, but I cannot rotate it to a landscape if I created it. So that's pretty interesting, right? So yes. So for an 8-year-old, though, for that one purpose, for $229, 8-inch tablet, not bad. Everything else about this tablet's not that great. But for Office itself, again, that's the only reason I see why anyone would get this tablet. So, being that said, that's one way to go. Another way to go is the Tab S 8.4 is a great one to go with, especially if you can get a refurbished one now or a used one. They probably go real cheap. Let's actually see how inexpensive they go. So Tab S 8.4. Let's see. So if I go to Amazon right now, I can get a refurbished Tab S for $279. I think $300 is a good price point for 8-year-old. Definitely under $300, I would say. What about the NVIDIA Shield? The NVIDIA Shield, I mean, you have a Wi-Fi one going for $299. Actually, oh, okay. Yeah, you can get the NVIDIA Shield Wi-Fi model for. You can get the NVIDIA Shield Wi-Fi model for $299, and that's a 16 gig model. But I mean, you have a great product there, so that would be another good one to go for. But yeah, those would be the ones that I would immediately think about, kind of in that price point. I wouldn't dare touch the Nexus. That's just horrible. But yeah, so those would be two that would come to mind immediately. That might be good for an 8-year-old, especially the NVIDIA one, because with the NVIDIA one you might have a lot of good gaming for them, so they might enjoy it. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Scott, I purchased a Note 4. It prompted me to download an upgrade percent 0. Is there any way to get rid of it without losing my pics, music, etc.? It prompted you to update 5.0. And Scott, were you the one that was asking earlier if you could go back? No, so you're just saying that it prompted you to download Android 5.0. Is there any way to get rid of it without losing my pics and music? No, I mean, you could back up your pics and music, obviously. You can back it up either to an SD card, or you can, move it anywhere to a computer or anything like that, but you can't you can back it up using Helium to a computer too. That's an app. But yeah, those would be the things you would do if you wanted to root and then go back to KitKat, as some people have. What do you mainly use Smartwatch for? That's a good question. What do I mainly use it for? I would say my biggest thing is everyone uses a smartwatch first and foremost for notifications. You want to know what's going on your phone. That's why you get a smartwatch. Secondly, I do use it to pick up a call, especially when I'm either like at the gym or in my car or just on the go. So I use it for those reasons. A third reason is that I like to connect it to my Bluetooth players when I have a party. So when I have a party, I connect it to my Bluetooth so that I can use my phone while my smartwatch is having it. That's something that I can only currently do with the Gear S or the Gears watches, as opposed to Android Wear, which Android Wear cannot yet do that. The other, probably the biggest feature that I use it for on a daily basis, just because I'm such a coffee drinker, is I use it to pay for my coffee. Instead of pulling out my phone or my card at Starbucks, I just scan my watch and it's done. So that's what I would say I mainly use it for. But yeah, so that's what I mainly use a smartwatch for. In terms of the other apps, I have used it for tip calculator, or a quick calculator itself, or calendar to look at my calendar really quickly, or the weather. That's another thing that's really handy to have on the watch itself. So yeah, these are all things that I use a smartwatch for on a more daily basis, compared to kind of like a rarity. Hopefully that helps. Yeah. All right, guys. Not sure if that's it for tonight. I'm trying to think if I need to let you guys know anything else. So the one thing I will say about the best part about reviewing the Tab A so far, I was able to get Office on every one of my phones for free. Great feature. In terms of distributing that APK file, I will see. I think I'm going to actually give it to one of the other websites on the market. So maybe like Sam Mobile or Phone Arena. I'll let you know if I do, though. Yeah, I found a way to take all of those Word, PowerPoint, Excel that you have on only the Tab A and put it on my phones. Funny note, it does not work on another tablet, at least not yet. I'm still in the testing phases. I just figured out how to do it today, and it was awesome. The fact that I have full Microsoft Office on my Android phone now for free, no 365 BS, amazing. All right, guys, lots of stuff coming, so make sure to stay tuned. We're going to be going over this smartwatch, where we ordered the Apple Watch for the channel, so we'll get that when it comes as well, and we're going to compare it to the Gear S, the LG Urbane, And I think those are going to be the main two ones we'll compare it to. I don't know if there will be any other smartwatches coming out more recently. Maybe at Google I/O they'll announce a new smartwatch, but we'll see. All right, guys, thank you as always for watching. Please give that like, thumbs up down below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.